You're not my taste anymore. I said get out of my house. Nkosi's voice thundered through the penthouse as he grabbed his wife's arm with brutal force. His designer suit stretched across his chest as he shoved Thandao toward the open balcony door of their luxury apartment in Sandton, Johannesburg. Nkosi, please. Thandao screamed, her traditional head wrap coming loose as she stumbled. What are you doing? I'm your wife. Wife. He laughed, a cold, hollow sound that made her blood freeze. You were never good enough to be my wife. Look at you. Aged, boring, plain. I've found someone better. Someone beautiful. Someone who actually excites me. Hello guys. Welcome to Stories by Stoner. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if your husband said you weren't his taste anymore? Let's dive in. Thandao's hands trembled as she tried to process his words. They had been married for 15 years. 15 years of standing by this man as he built his empire. She had sacrificed her own dreams, raised their 2 children practically alone while he traveled the world closing deals. And now, there's someone else, she whispered, her voice breaking. Yes. Nkosi's eyes blazed with a mixture of cruelty and something else, relief. Her name is Zola. She's 26, stunning, and she makes me feel alive again. Not like you, a dried-up housewife who's let herself go. The slap came before Thandao could think. Her palm connected with his cheek, leaving a red mark. For a moment, time stopped. Then Nkosi's face twisted with rage. You dare. He grabbed her by the shoulders and began pushing her backward. You dare lay hands on me? Nkosi, no. No. Thandao's screams echoed through the apartment as her back hit the balcony railing. Below, the city lights of Johannesburg glittered like fallen stars, 3 stories down. This is goodbye, Thandao. I'm done with you. His hands released her shoulders and moved to her waist. In one violent motion, he lifted and pushed. Thandao's scream cut through the night air as she went over the railing. Her body tumbled through the darkness, her cream-colored dress billowing around her like wings that couldn't save her. The sickening thud of impact seemed to shake the very foundations of the building. Nkosi stood at the balcony, breathing heavily, his hands gripping the railing. He looked down at the crumpled figure on the decorative bushes below. She wasn't moving. It's done, he muttered, straightening his tie. Now I can finally live my life. He turned back into the penthouse, already planning how he would explain this away. An accident. She was unstable. She jumped. His lawyers were the best money could buy. They would handle everything. But what Nkosi didn't see was the building's night gatekeeper, old Jobu, rushing from his post toward the bushes where Thandao had fallen. He didn't hear Jobu's panicked voice calling for an ambulance. He didn't know that Thandao's chest still rose and fell with shallow breaths. And he certainly didn't know that his cruel assumption, that he could simply erase his wife from existence, would become the beginning of his own destruction. What do you think should happen to Nkosi? Drop your comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. The emergency room at Johannesburg General Hospital blazed with fluorescent lights as doctors rushed Thandao into surgery. Her body was broken, fractured ribs, shattered left arm, severe spinal trauma, and internal bleeding. But against all odds, her heart kept beating. Jobu sat in the waiting area, his weathered hands clasped together, still trembling from what he'd witnessed. He had worked at the luxury apartment complex for 12 years, and he knew the Mkhizes well. He had watched Thandao greet him every morning with a warm smile, always remembering to ask about his grandchildren. And he had seen Nkosi, arrogant, dismissive, treating everyone beneath his tax bracket like furniture. What Jobu had seen tonight wasn't an accident. He had heard the screams. He had seen the silhouette of a man pushing someone over that balcony. Sir. A young police officer approached him. We need your statement about the incident. Jobu looked up, his decision already made. That woman didn't jump. She was pushed. Meanwhile, back at the penthouse, Nkosi poured himself a glass of whiskey with steady hands. He had already called his lawyer, Mandla, who was on his way. The story was simple. Thandao had been acting erratic lately, possibly depressed. She must have jumped while he was in the shower. He hadn't even known until he heard the commotion outside. His phone buzzed. It was Zola, his mistress, a social media influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers and a taste for the finer things in life. "Baby, I'm at the hotel. When are you coming? I'm wearing that red thing you bought me." Face blowing a kiss. Nkosi smiled, typing back quickly. "Soon, my love. Just handling some business. Keep the bed warm." He was about to take another sip of whiskey when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Mkhize?" A professional female voice. "This is Dr. Olamide from Johannesburg General. Your wife has been brought in following a fall from your building. She's in critical condition, but she's alive and in surgery." The whiskey glass slipped from Nkosi's fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "What did you say?" "Your wife survived, Mr. Mkhize. You need to come to the hospital immediately." The line went dead. Nkosi stood frozen, staring at the broken glass at his feet. Alive. Thandao was alive. This wasn't possible. The fall should have killed her instantly. 3 stories onto concrete and bushes. No one survived that. His mind raced. If she was alive, she could talk. She could tell them what really happened. His entire carefully constructed story would crumble. The doorbell rang. Mandla, his lawyer, a sharp-dressed man in his 50s who had gotten Nkosi out of multiple scandals before. "What's the situation?" Mandla asked, stepping inside and immediately noticing Nkosi's pale face. "She's alive," Nkosi whispered. "Thandao survived." Mandla's expression darkened. "Then we have a serious problem. If she talks." "She won't." Nkosi's voice hardened as he regained his composure. "I'll make sure of it. I'll go to the hospital, play the concerned husband. By the time she wakes up, if she wakes up, I'll have convinced everyone she's mentally unstable. Her word against mine." "And the gatekeeper?" "He was the one who found her. An old man. His eyesight is probably terrible. Besides, it was dark. He couldn't have seen anything clearly." But Mandla looked worried. "Nkosi, attempted murder is not like your other scandals. If there's any evidence." "There won't be." Nkosi grabbed his car keys. "I'm going to the hospital now. You handle the police, make the right calls, do what you do best. I pay you enough." As Nkosi drove through the night streets of Johannesburg, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, he couldn't shake the image of Thandao's face as she went over that railing. The terror in her eyes. The way she had screamed his name. For a brief moment, something that might have been regret flickered in his chest. Then he thought of Zola, young, beautiful, exciting, and the feeling disappeared. Thandao had been holding him back for years. She was a relic from his past, from when he was nobody. Now he was Nkosi Mkhize, billionaire property developer, one of Johannesburg's most powerful men. He deserved better. He deserved more. But as he pulled into the hospital parking lot and saw the police cars already there, Nkosi realized that for the first time in his life, his money and connections might not be enough to save him. The shame he had tried to bury by disposing of Thandao was about to rise from those hospital beds and consume everything he had built. Will Thandao survive long enough to expose the truth? What will happen when she wakes up? Comment your predictions below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. 3 weeks later, Thandao's eyes fluttered open to the sterile white ceiling of a private hospital room. Pain radiated through every inch of her body, but she was alive. "Mrs. Mkhize? Can you hear me?" Dr. Olamide leaned over her, shining a small light in her eyes. "You're in the hospital. You've been in a medically induced coma while your body healed. Don't try to move, you have multiple fractures." Thandao's lips moved, barely a whisper. My children. They're safe. Your sister Nomsa has been caring for them. She's been here every day. Dr. Olamide paused, her expression careful. Mrs. Mkhize, do you remember what happened to you? The memories crashed over Thandile like a tidal wave. Nkosi's cruel words. His hands pushing her. The sensation of falling through darkness. The moment she realized she was going to die. He pushed me, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. My husband pushed me off the balcony. Dr. Olamide squeezed her hand gently. The police need to speak with you. There's a detective waiting outside. Are you strong enough? Thandile nodded weakly. She needed to tell the truth before Nkosi found a way to silence her forever. Detective Sifo Dlamini entered the room with a notepad and a kind face that reminded Thandile of her late father. He pulled up a chair beside her bed. Mrs. Mkhize, I'm so sorry for what you've been through. I need you to tell me exactly what happened that night. Take your time. As Thandile recounted every detail, the argument, Nkosi's confession about his mistress, the violence, the push, Detective Dlamini's expression grew grimmer. We have a witness, he said when she finished. Jobu, the gatekeeper. He saw a man push someone from your balcony. He heard screaming. Your husband claims you jumped, that you were depressed. But the evidence doesn't support his story. Where is he? Thandile asked, her voice stronger now despite the pain. Where is Nkosi? He's been questioned but not arrested yet. He has expensive lawyers. They're claiming this is a misunderstanding, that you're confused from the trauma. Detective Dlamini leaned forward. But with your testimony and Jobu's witness statement, we can build a case. Are you willing to press charges? Thandile closed her eyes, thinking of her children. Tobo, 13, and little Naledi, just 8 years old. What would this do to them? Their father arrested? Their family destroyed publicly? Then she remembered Nkosi's face as he pushed her. The cold calculation in his eyes. He had tried to murder her because she was no longer his taste. Yes, she said firmly. I'm pressing charges. He tried to kill me. Across the city in his glass-walled office overlooking Santun, Nkosi threw a crystal paperweight against the wall, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. How is she still alive? He roared at Mandla. And now she's talking to the police? It gets worse, Mandla said grimly, scrolling through his tablet. The gatekeeper's testimony is solid. He's credible. And there's something else. Hospital staff have been talking. One of the nurses leaked to the press that you haven't visited your wife once since she woke up. Not once. So what? Nkosi loosened his tie, pacing like a caged animal. I've been busy. Busy with Zola, who posted photos of you two at a beach resort in Mauritius last week. While your wife was in a coma. Mandla turned the tablet around, showing social media posts. The public is starting to ask questions. Why would a devoted husband go on vacation while his wife fights for her life? Nkosi's jaw clenched. He had been so careful to keep Zola separate from his public life. But she was young and hungry for attention. She couldn't resist posting their luxury getaway. Delete them, he ordered. Too late. They've been screenshot and shared thousands of times. There's a hashtag trending, #JusticeForThandile. Nkosi felt the walls closing in. His business partners had started calling with concerns. 3 board members of his company had requested an emergency meeting. And his mother, his traditional church-going mother, had left him a voicemail he hadn't dared listen to yet. What do I do? For the first time, fear crept into Nkosi's voice. You go to that hospital, Mandla said. You play the devastated husband. You cry, you beg forgiveness. You say you were in shock and that's why you haven't been there. You make it look like you still care. And if she tells everyone I pushed her? Then we discredit her. Say she's traumatized, confused. Head injuries cause memory problems. We get expert witnesses. Mandla stood, straightening his suit. But Nkosi, I need you to understand something. This isn't like your other problems. If this goes to trial and you're convicted, you're looking at 25 years to life for attempted murder. The color drained from Nkosi's face. His phone buzzed with a text from Zola. Baby, why are people calling me a homewrecker on Instagram? Make them stop. This is ruining my brand. Crying face. Nkosi stared at the message, then at his reflection in the office window. He saw a man he barely recognized, a man who had thrown away everything for vanity and lust. But instead of remorse, he felt only rage. Rage at Thandile for surviving. Rage at Jobu for interfering. Rage at the world for not letting him simply have what he wanted. Get me the best character assassins you can find, he told Mandla coldly. If Thandile wants to fight me, she'll learn that nobody destroys Nkosi Mkhize and lives to tell about it. What he didn't know was that in her hospital room, Thandile had just made a phone call to someone who would change everything. An investigative journalist known for exposing powerful men who abused their wives. The war had just begun. Do you think Nkosi will get away with what he did? Should Thandile expose him publicly? Drop your comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. Thandile's sister, Nomsa, sat by the hospital bed, her eyes red from crying as she held her younger sister's hand. At 42, Nomsa was a high school teacher with a fierce protective streak that had only intensified since the accident. The children keep asking when they can see you, Nomsa said softly. I've been telling them you're getting stronger every day. But Thandile. Tobo knows something is wrong. He's 13, he's not stupid. He heard people talking. Thandile's heart ached. What does he know? He heard someone at school say that his father pushed you. There was a fight. Tobo broke another boy's nose defending you. Nomsa's voice cracked. He's so angry, Thandi. So confused. He loves his father, but he loves you more. Before Thandile could respond, her hospital room door opened. She looked up, expecting Detective Dlamini, but instead, Nkosi walked in carrying an enormous bouquet of roses. He looked perfect. Expensive suit, concerned expression, every inch the devoted husband. But Thandile saw the calculation in his eyes, the performance in every gesture. My love, Nkosi said, his voice thick with false emotion. Thank God you're awake. I've been so worried. Get out. Thandile's voice was ice. Nkosi glanced at the door where a nurse stood watching, then back at Thandile. He was playing to an audience. Darling, please. I know you're upset, but we need to talk about what happened. The doctors said you might be confused. I said get out. Thandile's scream sent pain shooting through her broken ribs, but she didn't care. You tried to kill me. You pushed me off that balcony because I wasn't pretty enough for you anymore. Nomsa stood, positioning herself between Thandile and Nkosi. You heard her. Leave. Now. This is between me and my wife, Nkosi said coldly, dropping the fake concern. You have no right. I have every right. I'm the one who's been here while you were on vacation with your mistress. Nomsa's voice rose. The whole country has seen those photos, Nkosi. Everyone knows what you are. Nkosi's jaw tightened. Thandile, please. Think about our children. Think about what this will do to them if you make wild accusations. The trauma of the fall has confused you. The only trauma, Thandile interrupted, is being married to a monster. The mask slipped from Nkosi's face for just a moment, revealing the cold cruelty beneath. Then he seemed to remember where he was and softened his expression again. I'll come back when you're feeling better, he said loudly enough for the nurse to hear. I love you, Thandile. I always have. As he walked out, he leaned close to Nomsa and whispered so only she could hear. Tell my wife to be very careful what she says to the police. Accidents can happen to anyone. Even sisters. Nomsa felt ice flood her veins, but she stood her ground until Nkosi was gone. Did he just threaten you? Thandile asked weakly. It doesn't matter. Nomsa sat back down, but her hands were shaking. Thandile, you need protection. Real protection. He's dangerous. I know. Thandile reached for her phone on the bedside table. That's why I called someone. A journalist named Grace Ndlovu. She exposes men like Nkosi, powerful men who think they're untouchable. That evening, Grace Ndlovu arrived at the hospital, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a reputation for fearless reporting. She had brought down ministers, businessmen, and even a prominent pastor who had abused his wife for decades. Mrs. Mkhize, Grace said, setting up her recording device with Thandile's permission. Tell me everything. And I mean everything, from the beginning of your marriage until the moment he pushed you. For 2 hours, Thandile talked. She told Grace about the early years when Nkosi was building his business and she had worked 2 jobs to support them. About the gradual changes as he became wealthy. The coldness, the criticism, the way he started treating her like an employee rather than a partner. She told her about the affairs she had suspected but never confirmed. About how Nkosi had slowly isolated her from her friends, convincing her that as his wife, she needed to maintain a certain image. About the emotional abuse disguised as honesty. Constant comments about her weight, her aging appearance, her boring personality. And finally, she told her about that terrible night. Every word Nkosi had said. Every moment of terror as he pushed her over the balcony. Grace's face remained professional, but her eyes blazed with righteous anger. I have enough, she said. But Mrs. Mkhize, you need to understand, once this story goes public, there's no taking it back. Nkosi will come after you with everything he has. His lawyers will try to destroy your credibility. Are you prepared for that? Thandile thought of her children. Of other women who might fall for Nkosi's charm. Of the message her silence would send. I'm prepared, she said. He tried to erase me. Instead, I'm going to make sure the whole world sees exactly who he is. Good. Grace packed up her equipment. My article goes live tomorrow morning. And Mrs. Mkhize? You're not alone in this. I've been investigating your husband for months. There are 3 other women, his previous mistresses, who have agreed to talk about how he treated them. One of them has medical records from when he put her in the hospital. Thandile's eyes widened. He's done this before. Men like Nkosi always have. They just usually get away with it. Grace squeezed her hand. Not this time. After Grace left, Thandile lay in the darkness of her hospital room, listening to the beep of monitors. Her body was broken, but her spirit was crystallizing into something harder, stronger. Nkosi had tried to kill her because he saw her as disposable, as something that had outlived its usefulness. But he had made a crucial mistake. He had let her live. And now, she was going to make him pay for every cruel word, every manipulative action, every moment he had made her feel worthless. The shame he had tried to bury with her body was about to become his own. What will happen when Grace's article is published? How will Nkosi react? Comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The article exploded across South Africa like a bomb at dawn. Billionaire developer Nkosi Mkhize accused of attempted murder. Wife survives 3-story fall. Claims husband pushed her. Grace Ndlovu's investigative piece went viral within hours. Every major news outlet picked it up. Social media erupted. The hashtag Justice for Thandile became the #1 trending topic in South Africa. But it wasn't just Thandile's story that shocked the nation. Grace had done her homework. The article included interviews with 3 of Nkosi's former mistresses. One woman, Lindile, described how Nkosi had beaten her so badly during an argument that she'd lost hearing in her left ear. She had hospital records dated 2 years ago. Another woman, Patience, revealed that Nkosi had gotten her pregnant and paid for a forced abortion, threatening to destroy her career if she refused. Grace had also uncovered financial records showing suspicious payments to various women over the years. Hush money, bribes, settlements sealed with non-disclosure agreements. The man South Africa had celebrated as a self-made billionaire, a philanthropist, a family man, was revealed to be a violent predator who used his wealth to abuse and silence women. By noon, protesters had gathered outside Nkosi's office building in Sandton, holding signs that read, "Jail Nkosi Mkhize," and "Justice for Thandile." In his penthouse, the same one where he had tried to murder his wife, Nkosi watched the news coverage with trembling hands. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Board members, investors, business partners. His publicist had quit via email that morning. "We're finished," Mandla said, standing by the window and watching the protesters below. "The company's stock has dropped 40%. Your biggest investors are pulling out. The Minister of Housing just announced they're reviewing all your government contracts." "Sue her," Nkosi shouted. "Sue that journalist for defamation. Sue Thandile. Sue everyone. With what evidence? Everything in that article is documented. Hospital records, witnesses, bank statements." Mandla turned to face him. "Nkosi, 3 women went on record. One of them has a recording of you threatening her. The police have enough to arrest you now." As if on cue, Nkosi's phone rang. It was his mother. "Mama," he started. "Don't you mama me." Her voice was like thunder. "I raised you better than this. That girl gave you 15 years of her life, gave you 2 beautiful children, and you threw her off a building like garbage? What kind of demon did I birth? Mama, you don't understand." I understand perfectly. You're just like your father was, thinking your money makes you a king, thinking women are toys you can break and replace." Her voice cracked with pain and fury. "I am ashamed to call you my son. I am going to the hospital to beg Thandile's forgiveness. And you are dead to me until you face what you've done." The line went dead. Nkosi stared at his phone, something close to panic finally breaking through his arrogance. His mother had never spoken to him like that. Never. "There's more," Mandla said quietly. "Zola just posted a statement on Instagram. She's claiming she didn't know you were still married, that you told her you were divorced. She's calling herself a victim and distancing herself from you completely." Nkosi pulled up Zola's Instagram. Sure enough, there was a tearful video of her claiming innocence, saying she had been manipulated by an older, powerful man. The comments were mixed. Some people believed her, others called her a homewrecker. But one thing was clear: she had abandoned him to save her own reputation. Everything was falling apart. "What do I do?" Nkosi asked, and for the first time, Mandla heard genuine fear in his voice. "You turn yourself in before they come arrest you. You show remorse. You plead guilty and hope for a reduced sentence." Mandla grabbed his briefcase. "Or you run. Take what liquid assets you have and disappear to a country without extradition. Those are your only options now." "I'm not going to prison." Nkosi's voice rose to a shriek. "I'm Nkosi Mkhize. I built an empire. I employ thousands of people. They can't do this to me. They already have." Mandla headed for the door. "And Nkosi, I'm withdrawing as your lawyer effective immediately. I don't represent attempted murderers. Consider this my resignation." Alone in his penthouse, surrounded by expensive art and designer furniture, Nkosi finally understood the magnitude of what he had done. He had tried to dispose of Thandile like she was nothing. But in surviving, she had become everything. A symbol, a rallying cry, proof that powerful men could be held accountable. His phone buzzed with a notification. Detective Dlamini had posted on the police department's official social media. "An arrest warrant has been issued for Nkosi Mkhize on charges of attempted murder. Mr. Mkhize has 24 hours to turn himself in." Nkosi walked to his balcony, the same balcony where he had pushed Thandile, and looked down at the protesters. They were chanting her name. "Thandile! Thandile! Thandile!" The woman he had tried to erase had become more powerful than he ever was. And the shame he had tried to bury with her broken body had risen up to consume him completely. Meanwhile, in her hospital room, Thandile watched the news coverage with Nomsa by her side. Tears streamed down her face, not from pain, but from something that felt almost like relief. "The whole country is behind you," Nomsa whispered. "Everyone knows the truth now." Thandile nodded, thinking of her children. This would be hard for them. But they would grow up knowing their mother had been strong enough to stand up to a monster. Her phone rang. It was Detective Dlamini. "Mrs. Mkhize, I wanted you to know personally. We're bringing him in. Within 24 hours. Nkosi will be in custody." "It's over." "No," Thandile said softly. "It's just beginning. Will Nkosi turn himself in, or will he run? What punishment does he deserve? Tell us what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications." 23 hours after the arrest warrant was issued, Nkosi Mkhize walked into the Santun police station flanked by a new lawyer, a last-minute hire who specialized in defending the indefensible. The media circus outside was unprecedented. Cameras flashed like lightning as protesters shouted and police struggled to maintain order. Nkosi kept his head down, but not before someone in the crowd threw a rotten tomato that splattered across his expensive suit. "Murderer!" a woman screamed. "You tried to kill your wife." Inside the station, Detective Dlamini read him his rights with barely concealed satisfaction. "Nkosi Mkhize, you are under arrest for attempted murder, aggravated assault, and witness intimidation. You have the right to remain silent." As the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Nkosi finally understood what it meant to be powerless. All his money, all his connections, all his arrogance, none of it mattered now. The bail hearing 3 days later was a spectacle. The courtroom was packed with journalists, women's rights activists, and ordinary citizens who wanted to see justice served. Thandile sat in the front row in a wheelchair, her sister Nomsa beside her, refusing to hide the physical evidence of what Nkosi had done. The prosecutor, a formidable woman named Thuli Kumalo, argued passionately against bail. "Your Honor, Mr. Mkhize attempted to murder his wife by throwing her from a 3-story balcony. He has significant financial resources and connections abroad, making him an extreme flight risk. Furthermore, he threatened the victim's sister, demonstrating a clear pattern of intimidation." Nkosi's lawyer countered with the usual arguments: pillar of the community, no prior convictions, willing to surrender his passport. But even he sounded unconvincing. The judge, a gray-haired woman who had seen too many cases of domestic violence, adjusted her glasses and spoke firmly. "Bail is denied. Mr. Mkhize will remain in custody until trial. The evidence of premeditated violence and the severity of the injuries inflicted make him a danger to society." The courtroom erupted in applause. Nkosi's face went pale as guards led him away. As he passed Thandile's wheelchair, he stopped. "Thandile," he whispered desperately. "Please. Tell them it was an accident. Think of our children." "I am thinking of them," Thandile said, her voice steady despite the pain medication dulling her senses. "I'm thinking about what kind of man I want them to become. And it's not you." Nkosi was led away to a holding cell where he would await trial, not in comfort, but in the same conditions as any other accused criminal. 6 months later, the trial concluded. The evidence was overwhelming: Jobu's testimony, the hospital records, the 3 other women who testified about Nkosi's pattern of abuse, the financial records showing hush money payments, and most damning of all, Thandile's own powerful testimony. When Thandile took the stand, walking with a cane but walking nonetheless, she told her story with quiet dignity. She didn't cry or rage. She simply told the truth. "He said I wasn't his taste anymore," she testified. "He said he found someone better. Then he pushed me over the balcony like I was garbage he was throwing away. But I'm not garbage. I'm a woman, a mother, a human being who deserved better than what he gave me." The jury deliberated for only 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Nkosi Mkhize was sentenced to 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. The judge's words echoed through the courtroom. "You used your wealth and power to abuse multiple women. You attempted to murder your wife when she no longer served your purposes. This court will not tolerate such heinous acts, regardless of the perpetrator's social standing. As guards led him away in chains, Nkosi looked back at Thandile one last time. She met his gaze without flinching. He had tried to destroy her. Instead, he had destroyed himself. 1 year after the verdict, Thandile stood in the garden of a modest but beautiful house in a quiet Johannesburg suburb. She had divorced Nkosi, won a substantial settlement from their marital assets, and started a foundation to help women escape abusive relationships. Her body had healed, though she still walked with a slight limp. The physical scars remained, but they had become badges of survival rather than marks of shame. Tobo and Naledi played in the garden, their laughter floating on the afternoon breeze. It had been hard explaining to them why their father was in prison, but Thandile had been honest, age-appropriate, but honest. They were in therapy, processing their trauma and grief. But they were healing too. Nomsa brought out tea, settling beside her sister on the porch. Grace called. Her book about your case just hit the bestseller list. All proceeds going to domestic violence charities. Thandile smiled. Good. If my pain can help other women, then it wasn't for nothing. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from a woman she'd never met. Mrs. Mkhize, I just left my abusive husband because of your story. You gave me courage. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for fighting back. Tears filled Thandile's eyes, but they were good tears this time. Nkosi had thought he could erase her because she was no longer beautiful enough, young enough, exciting enough for him. He had believed that his wealth and power made him untouchable, that a woman's worth was determined by her usefulness to him. But Thandile's survival had exposed the lie at the heart of his cruelty. She wasn't worthless because he said so. Her value had never depended on his opinion. And in trying to destroy her, he had destroyed everything about himself that he valued. His reputation, his freedom, his empire, his family. The shame he had tried to inflict on her by throwing her away like garbage had become his own shame, broadcast across the nation, immortalized in court records and news archives and Grace's best-selling book. Nkosi Mkhize would spend the next 15 years in a prison cell, forgotten by the world that once celebrated him. Meanwhile, Thandile was building a new life, helping other women find their voices, showing them that survival was possible and justice, though difficult, was worth fighting for. She had fallen 3 stories and survived. She had faced her abuser in court and won. She had taken her shame and transformed it into strength. And every morning when she woke up, when her body ached with old injuries and new purpose, Thandile whispered the same words to herself. I am still here. He tried to erase me, but I am still here. And that was the greatest victory of all. The end. What an incredible journey. Thandile's story shows us that no matter how powerful an abuser may seem, the truth always finds a way to shine through. What did you think of this story? How did it make you feel? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Stories by Stoner for more powerful African stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next gripping tale. Remember, you are never alone. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. Your life has value. Your story matters. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay strong, stay blessed. Folded hands.